Hey, what's good everybody? It's CJ Beatz. We're back at it again today. Today I'm going to show you guys how you can import your own sounds into Logic Pro X right after this. So thanks for joining, guys. So this is going to be a two-parter for this tutorial today. First part's going to be how to import your own drum sounds, and that would be, things like a kick, snare, claps, hi-hats, effects, etc. And then the second part would be how to import samples, that you might find in sample packs, including MIDI and things like that. So let's get into the first part of this tutorial, how to import your drum sounds. So if you're a trap or hip hop producer like me, you're going to scour the internet for drum packs and drum sounds that fit your genre. A lot of the times when you start making beats, you're really unfamiliar with the whole process of how to find drum sounds and stuff, and you end up using stock sounds. And stock sounds are okay to use, but in all honesty, if you want to bring your production to the next level, you have to have the right samples. So the drum kit that we're going to be using for today's tutorial is called Angels, which you can find in the description of this video, as well as the cards right here. Feel free to go check that out, download that drum kit, start applying it to your beats. These are really hard-hitting drum sounds that will bring your production to the next level. Okay, so how do we go about importing these sounds? First and foremost, if you're new to Logic, what you definitely need to do first is actually enable your advanced tools. So if you go to Logic Pro X Preferences and then Advanced Tools, make sure all of these guys are checked off, okay? You just exit out of that. Once that's said and done, then you could really use Logic to its full potential. So now let's go ahead and create a new software instrument like so. And I'm going to look for the Ultra Beat, which is right here. And I'm going to select the multi-output. Okay, so with this multi-output, what I've basically created was a drum sampler that has each of these sounds actually mapped to a track, or a channel strip, I should say, on the mixer. So if you hit X on your keyboard, you can bring up your mixer. And then down below, you have this plus button. And this plus button will basically, expand all of those multi-channel outputs that this drum sampler has, this Ultra Beat sampler. And that will allow us to route each of the sounds that we're going to be inputting here from our Angels drum kit into Ultra Beat. And that's basically going to allow us for better sound manipulation down the road. And we're still using only one virtual instrument or one drum sampler to house all of our drum sounds in. Okay. Once you've downloaded this project file, I'll make it available for you guys to download for free in the description of this video. You will have this drag and drop samples available to you now. Okay, so a lot of you in a previous tutorial said I can't find drag and drop samples, but what I did was basically save this this preset for you so that you can always use this as a template to import your own drum sounds. Okay, so again, feel free to download the project file, use that as a template so you can import your drum sounds. All right, so as you can see here, we have 25 blank slots now, and each of these slots has this area over here where we can input these third-party drum samples, okay? And if you want to browse for the drum samples that you've downloaded, you can use this guy right here up top. That's Logic's browser. If you click on the monitor, you can get to your drive and then, easily get to where your drum sounds are. And from there, you can actually preview the drum sound. So let's go into the kick folder. All right, so these are nice, hard-hitting kicks. So I'm going to drop this kick here into sample 1. The second thing I want to do, because I want my kick to be mono, if you look at the subgroup right here and right-click, I can actually send this now to subgroup 9, which is channel 17, like so. And that's actually going to make that sound go on my mono aux channel, okay? So if I go ahead and try to play back the sample, you can see that it's ending up on aux 8, which is our first mono channel, okay? You can see the difference here. The stereo ones are a little bit fatter and the mono ones are skinnier. Okay, so that sample is kind of loud. You have the main volume meter here for each sample, so you can actually lower it. You definitely don't want to be in the red while you're creating the beats. Always try to stay in the green or the yellow so that your master stereo output doesn't go above like -6 dB. And that's just so, you can keep everything nice and quiet before you go into your mastering and bring up all the volumes later on. I've done tons of tutorials on how to mix and master within Logic Pro X. So if you haven't checked those out, that might be a little more advanced. You could check those out on my channel. All right, so we got our first drum sample in here, and I'm going to select sample 2 now. Let's find maybe a snare that would go along with this. Again, all of these are available in that Angels drum kit that I was mentioning earlier. All right, so that one's kind of loud too. And don't worry about things being too quiet right now, because like I said, you can always make things louder later. That's something I live by, louder later, because you don't want to start distorting and stuff unless you're trying to make some really grungy sounding trap beats. All right, so that is that. We got 2 samples in here. We got a kick drum, a snare, and maybe we could also input a perk. Something like that. So we'll select sample number 3. All right, so I already routed this one here to channel strip 8, right? So that I have it in mono. Maybe I want to route these 2, so I'm going to route this to subgroup 2, which is channels 3 and 4. That's stereo, and this other guy to 5 and 6. So you see already, if I bring that volume down now, we got a kick, which is on this channel strip over here. We got our snare and our perk. And the reason I have these, on these channel strips down below in my mixer is so that I have more manipulation over each sound. So now I can actually come in here and add EQs, add compression to each sound, however I want to do it. And I'm only using one drag and drop samples Ultra Beat player. So it saves on CPU, and that allows you to, actually create beats on a computer that might not be so souped up, So anyway, just a little inside knowledge there. But all right, so now we got 3 sounds. Got a kick, a snare, and a perk. And you can keep going, keep adding something here. Let's do maybe a hi-hat next. So put the hi-hat in there. Send that one to 7/8, and maybe bring that volume down a little bit. Now you can actually start coming up with a drum pattern. So let me do a hi-hat really quick here. So now if you want to, add those kicks and snares, you can in the same track. So now we can quantize all that. Just hitting Command A and then Q on the keyboard. So that's really how simple it is to import your drum sounds correctly into Logic Pro X, and then still be able to use a channel strip in the mixer to manipulate the sounds individually. Again, you don't need to use 4 or 5 instances of drag and drop samples. You just use one, which keeps the session nice and clean. Now that we've imported some drum sounds, let's think about how we can import, samples and things of that nature. I'm going to go into one of our sample packs that I just released called Last Night. Really dope sample packs, got 20 samples in it. Each of these samples are tracked out as well as provided you guys with the MIDI file. So let's go ahead and import this guy here. Click dragged and dropped it over. And, that's really the easiest way to manipulate or import samples into Logic, because from here, once it's in the play area, you can do a lot of things with it. You can create software instruments out of them, or you could chop it, you could reverse it, a whole lot of stuff. So I'm going to show you all of that stuff right now. Let's have a listen to the sample. So this is 52 BPM. I'm going to change that to 152. So the drums I created should actually already match up to that. Let's have a listen. And I like using the scissors to chop samples up, right? Sometimes it's cool to have a listen to the sample first, because it's usually, if you have a longer sample like this, it's already arranged or prearranged, and you could chop it up and then manipulate that arrangement, do whatever you like. So that's a 4-bar loop. Let's do a 4-bar loop. I'm going to use the control click and make a chop right there. Let's bring the loop over so we could see where we need to chop it next. And if Smart Snap is enabled, you don't have to be exact with the chop. It'll you could be close to it, and then it'll still put it exactly at the marker it's supposed to be. All right, so let's have a listen over here and see. That's still sort of the same, and it might change up over here. Yeah, so these are higher octaves now, and let's go ahead and chop those up as well. Couple more chops here, one more chop. There we go. Now we have it chopped up into even pieces like this, and you can rearrange this, do whatever you like. I mean, you could even drag this part over now, see what it sounds like with the drums. All right, cool. So this is nice for a breakdown. What's dope about this sample pack is that it actually comes with the MIDI and the stem. So if you want each individual sound tracked out, you could still get that. So the flute by itself, the bells by itself, keys by itself, or you just use them as is, and get all the sauce at once. All right, so I'm just going to click on that, hold Alt down, click and drag it over, create another instance of that. And now we can start maybe messing around with the sample a little more. So I still have my scissor tool enabled. If I hold the command button down and then Alt, I can make multiple chops at the same time. So let's say I want to chop it up every quarter bar like so. It's going to make individual chops like this. If you want to individually reverse these, I have a hotkey set up for that. So all I need to do is Command Shift and R, and it'll reverse each individual section like that. Really saves time and makes some awesome stuff like this. So if you want to use hotkeys like that, you can always go to Logic Pro X, key commands, and hit Edit. And what I searched for that one was just reverse. But then you have main window tracks and various editors, reverse on and off. I have this one set to, like I said, Command Shift R, and that'll basically, whatever you select, it'll reverse it. And if they're individually chopped like that, they'll reverse them individually versus the whole thing. Makes it a little more interesting. So now, if I were to come here and bring my fade tool in, what I like to do sometimes when I chop samples, just so that they have a better transition, is give it a sweep like this. So with the fade tool enabled, I'm holding command down and dragging an area like this and like so that they're nice and tight. But that will get rid of that choppy noise that you hear when you chop samples sometimes. All right, so that gives it, a different flavor now. Another thing you could do with chopped samples inside of Logic Pro X is, actually create instruments out of them. So let's say you have all of these chops that you made, and now you want to put all these chops on your keyboard so that you could play them back or whatever. It's real simple. You just highlight whatever you chopped up, and then come down to Convert, and then Convert to New Sampler Track. Okay, I just usually leave all of the defaults on, hit OK. And boom! Now I have a sampler with all of those sample chops in them. So now if I click on this EXS24 sampler that it created out of these samples, you'll see if I hit Edit here, all of these individual chops have been laid out. What I like to do is go here. What I like to do is go to the groups selector here. Select polyphony to 1. Make sure one shot's enabled so that all the samples play through. Go all the way to the beginning of your keyboard. Sometimes you'll have to use the octaves, minus and plus buttons to get to the very back of the keyboard. I've seen comments before where they, import samples and then they play back on the keyboard, but they're actually on C3 and nothing's happening. You have to go all the way back to the beginning. And once you've done that, you could play back your samples on your keyboard. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video today. I hope you guys learned something new today. For those of you that are catching my tutorials for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We're almost at 61,000 subscribers now. It's really insane. I'm super excited to provide some more content to you guys. So if you have any questions, you know what to do. Put those in the comment section of this video. We also have live events where I listen to your beats and music and give you feedback. So be on the lookout for those as well. My name is CJ and I'm out for now. Peace.